welcome to Mike Herbert's and playfavourites.com, and quite an unusual video. I normally make videos to teach people how to play songs, but in this video I'm going to teach you how to change the strings on your guitar, and something that we as guitarists probably should do more often than we do. Certainly the guitar always sounds a lot nicer when it's got some new strings on. What we've got here is all the equipment you'll need, the basic equipment you'll need. This thing here, I played the guitar for years before I figured out what this thing was and how useful it would be. And it's a string winder, and it does several things. We can actually wind the machine heads of the strings, but also we have a little section there that we can use for prizing out the pegs at the other end of the guitar. So a very handy little piece of equipment there. A set of pitch pipes most people will recognise. Clearly we'll need some strings. We have some sets of strings there. Strings come in various gauges, and not everyone seems to know that. I do get asked questions about buying strings. These are extra light, which I can use on my very lightweight acoustic guitar here. But I can also use on electric guitar. And when I first started to play, I used to use these medium strings. They give a much better sound if you're just strumming. So for picking instrumentals, the extra light strings I prefer. And also either a pair of snips or a pair of pliers, so that we can take off those nasty, dangerous ends of the strings. So the first thing we need to do is get rid of the old strings, and that's where this little baby comes in handy, because if we look at the business end of the guitar, we have a set of string pegs, and these can be quite awkward to remove, and I've seen people damage guitars quite badly trying to prise these things out. Well, in fact, we have a handy little peg prizer here. That little nick there just fits neatly under the shoulder of the peg and allows us to very easily just prise it out. What we of course must do is make sure that we've taken the tension off the string before we do that. Otherwise we'll have pegs and strings and eyes being removed. So we use the string winder to remove the pegs there. If we move back to this end of the guitar here, the idea when we replace a string is to fasten it at the peg end and then get some string through the machine head and then put the tension onto it. Now I'm going to start by putting in the 6th string, the thickest string, from my set first. So that's the top string on the guitar on a normal right-hand strung guitar. So when I look at my strings, I should be able to by eye gauge them fairly easily, which is the thickest and all the way down to the thinnest gauge. So here's my string, and we see the end here has an eyelet, and the strings looped around it and then twisted along the string. Now one of the things we need to do is to make sure that we get this seated properly here, and the trick to that is just to put a tiny kink, we can just see there, the tiniest little kink in our string, so that when we poke it down the hole it actually moves forward this way. And the reason for doing that is so that when we pull it back it will slide into the groove of the string there along this part of the peg. So our little kink forwards, let's get away with a bit more there. So a little kink forwards, put the peg in, make sure that that eyelet pulls past along the groove there in the side of the peg. Give it a tug and that should be nice and firm, and then we can go to the other end of the guitar. So having fastened our string at the bridge of the guitar with the peg, we then bring it along the neck of the guitar, over the little groove there on the 6th string, and we pass the string through our machine head. Now the best way to set your machine heads up is to have the hole running laterally across the guitar. I'll show you why. Put the string into its slot, push the string through the hole of the machine head, and we bring it through, drop it into its slot, and the amount of string that we would want to see is enough to make a loop about that size. Okay, so running across the guitar, a loop of about this size, that's more than enough string. What we then do is we bend the string in the machine head around back on itself, all the way back around the post, and bring it out underneath the string. Hope you can see that clearly. And then bring it up on itself. And that makes a nice anchor for the string. Okay, so we have our loop through the machine head, back round in the opposite direction to how the string's going to wrap, back under the string and bring it over and pull it up. Now what we can do is get our string winder here. When I first used one of these string winders, I naturally thought that you would put it this way, but in fact there's a groove that runs across, which makes it a nice snug fit on there. And what we do is we start to wind the string. So